Hey guys, we're here at PAX EAST 2016. I'm joined by Rotondo, Happy Box Games, and you guys will probably remember Forgettable Dungeon. If they have not seen it on my channel or they haven't seen it somewhere else, tell me about it.
Well, it's the Forgettable Dungeon. We can't see really much now because it's the character select screen, but it's an online and offline cooperative dungeon crawler, and it's got a lot of fun stuff like Zelda elements, roguelike, and a lot of beat 'em up stuff. It's all kind of like combined into one. I wanted to take all the games that I loved as a kid and basically make it all one thing. And, you know, something you could play both split screen and online.
Right, and you see the characters here, they're little pixels, and you can make your own character, right?
Yeah, so there's actually an in-game character editor. You can actually see some of these things that are a little crazy. They have a cookie, a painting of a house, a knight, and an adventurer. And you can do all sorts of crazy things. People have gotten really creative with how they do it. And obviously you can make your own favorite characters from, you know, Mindcrack or Minecraft or whatever you have.
Mm-hmm. In the world, everything is also pixels. So like the beds they're sleeping on, as you can kind of see in the background.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, except for the walls. And everything's destroyable, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so you can basically, everything you see in the dungeon can be interacted with in some way. So you can, if you can't destroy it, you can pick it up and you can smack a monster with it. So there could be a bookshelf at the top and you can pick it up, you could throw it at a monster, or you could just beat the crap out of them with it.
Right. So what inspired you to make this game specifically?
Well, it's funny. Are you familiar with roguelikes?
Yes.
Like the old school roguelikes, like the NetHack and Rogue.
No, I've never played Rogue. I understand where that was the original,
Yeah.
but
So that was the original, and I used to play those back in Windows 95. It wasn't too much like back in the day, but yeah. So that had basically a lot of really crazy interactions. So you could have potions and they'd be good and they'd be bad. You wouldn't know. So you'd have to either drink them or throw them at the enemy. And I have stuff like that in my game. I have like the potions and the randomized scrolls. But the funny thing about it is this started actually as my attempt at doing an online co-op roguelike, but not in the new sense, in the old sense. So turn-based combat, ASCII 3D graphics. That's actually where this art style came from. I didn't intend to have this art style. I just had a 3D ASCII characters, which was like an @ symbol, and the monsters were all letters. And this is the version that I released 3 years ago as just like a prototype, and people really liked it. And so I wanted to make it into a full game, but as I progressed, I realized some of these concepts don't work, but I really like this art style, so I want to keep it. So what I did was I made this voxel system so that everything could be just like a nice little drawing and have like a little extruded layer. And yeah, that's where this came from. And it also coincidentally looked like another game that I'm really a big fan of, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but it's called 3D Game Heroes.
I have not.
It's a really fun game. It's basically a love letter to classic Zelda. And that's also where a lot of like the inspiration came from for this game.
So you mentioned it's either split screen multiplayer locally or online multiplayer.
Yep.
Is the game the same single player? You can play it single player as well,
Yeah,
right?
You can play it single player. It's basically balanced for 1 to 4 players of co-op. And then once you get past that, I start to do some tricks to basically make the dungeon bigger, and it starts getting more chaotic. Because as you might know, it's kind of hard to balance a game for 1 player to 4 players, and this game goes up to 16 players.
Oh wow! So you can have. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know you could go up to 16.
Yeah. Because you know the feeling where like, oh, I want to play a game with my friends. I have an extra friend, and it's a 4-player co-op game. I guess you can't play, Jason. I'm sorry.
Right. Have you had thoughts of like doing a thing where you're racing another team, like you have 2,
that'd be
4,
really
4
fun.
kind of thing?
That'd be really fun. I didn't think about that actually. No. Well, we got basically what we have now is the basic roguelike dungeon mode, which is you progress through the 4 dungeon themes. And there's a boss fight at each theme, and then there's also a deathmatch mode I've been working on, and that's actually pretty funny because I didn't intend to have a deathmatch mode at all in this game, but there's an item in the game which is just a bomb, and it was a glitch. It actually hurt everyone, all your teammates, and I found that people would just spend hours like planting bombs, picking them up, throwing them at each other, hitting them back and forth with their sword, and it was basically like a weird version of Bomberman. I'm like, well, people are having this much fun. I'm going to fix this so they don't kill each other while playing, but also I better make this a mode.
Right, so how does that work? So it's deathmatch.
Yeah.
You wake up in separate parts of the dungeon, you come together eventually, or
it's basically like, have you played Spelunky much?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, so they have a deathmatch mode in that where you're all kind of like on one screen, and then like you basically have to like just kind of fight it out, and there's items that like kind of drop in as you go. So it's like a picture Bomberman, like top-down Bomberman, basically like that, except a little more crazy.
I got you. Right now, is there only one dungeon, one boss that's in the game?
Well, right now in the beta I got on Steam, it's 2 main dungeon themes and a few boss fights, but the full game is going to have a lot more and a lot more secrets, a lot more bosses, basically.
you're. You know, I failed to introduce who you are, but you're alone. This is your baby. You made it. You're the
this is
the
mine.
owner of the company. you do all the work.
Yeah.
So how does that look as far as like a development cycle? How long will it be before this game is completely finished? Do you think?
Well, at this point, I'm hoping this year. And I'm not going to give any solid release date because like I really don't know. The game has to be good. It has to be good enough for my standards for me to release it. I know that's weird. I'm sure everyone says it has to be good to my standards. But like I've worked 3 years on this game. I've nearly died at the beginning of the development cycle of this game. So like there's a lot of me in this. I know it's a silly game, but like I put a lot of effort into this, so I want it to be really good.
Right. And people can find it right now on Steam, right? That's
well, the Steam page is up. It just says coming soon.
Gotcha.
We're doing the Kickstarter, like Slackerback or stuff like that, because people still want it. But I didn't want to do early access because that's a lot of attention, like all at once. And I want to save that for the main release when the game's, fully developed and fully expanded.
So you won't do well. I don't want to pigeonhole you into the decision, but do you think you'll do any kind of early access where they can get it on Steam before it's completely done?
Oh, well, actually, we're doing the beta right now. So you can actually go to my website and get a beta key, which will unlock on Steam. And, so that's one way you can do it. But, I didn't want to too over-advertise it.
Okay. The characters, you can create the characters. Are there things that the players of the game can do to customize the gameplay beyond that? Yeah,
so the dungeons and all the items in it are actually drawn the same way as the characters. So you can actually replace everything in the dungeon to make it look like your favorite game. You can make it look like Minecraft.
Oh, that's
You
really
can make
cool.
it look like Zelda. You can make it look like whatever you want. And you can also, there's eventually going to be modding as well, so you can add your own custom items and stuff like that, and they'll appear in the dungeon. But that's going to be a little later on in release.
I saw recently you talking on Twitter about the pathing in the game and how it was drawn. So how does each dungeon come to be? Are they set in stone, or how does that work?
No. It's the dungeons are all procedurally generated. And what I did recently was actually I expanded on everything, because before it used to be like there's a few rooms, they'd be interconnected by like a little path, and it'd be kind of boring. So what I ended up doing was I said, like, I can't really rewrite all this right now. So I just wrote the path algorithm to run itself 3 different times. And so it made intertwining paths. And suddenly, it's really interesting to walk along these paths, and there's like 3 separate ways you can go.
I gotcha.
And they might all lead to the same area, or they might just have an item at the end. But now it's really interesting because there's not only the paths, there's also monsters coming in and all around. And it's funny, but like those simple little choices of just having, I can go this way, this way, and they'll each go a different little section is really surprisingly engaging.
One of the things I've noticed watching people play the game is they don't have to stay together either. They can just go wherever they want in the dungeon, and that's fine. But then once someone finds the exit, then it just kind of moves forward. Is that, well, I've not been this hyped for a roguelike before. All my friends play like Binding of Isaac, all these games, and it doesn't do it for me. But this is the game. So I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait till it comes out, and I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today. So thank you. How can they find you right now if they want to buy the game?
If they want to buy the game, you can go to the Forgettable Dungeon. Oh, actually, it's just forgettabledungeon.com. Got to get that right. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's @Rotondo, just my name.
All right.
So that's
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you today.
Yeah. Thanks for interviewing me.
Hey guys, we're here at PAX East. I'm joined by Rotondo at the Happy Games booth. Happy fuck game.
And this is a great start to this. Put this at the end of the video. It's Happy Box Game.
Yeah. Try again. Take 2.